I think it's working, the old Tube Radio Network
You
here.
may not find us on your TV, because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by
OTR.
Brought to you by
27.085 megahertz.
Brought to you by RADI.
The old Tube Radio Network.
And you can believe Mr. Announcer, RADIO, the old Tube Radio Network, 27085 is where we are at here, Pacific Daylight Time, for a few more hours. Channel 11 waiting to talk with and learn more about those glow-in-the-dark old tube radios of the 11-meter Class D radio service from late 1958 to about 1978, when they just didn't make them anymore. But we will relive those glorious days of your 11-meter radio coming up after the roll call here on the Old Tube Radio Network. We are not a club, just an association of people interested in old tube radios, so we welcome anyone to participate. You don't have to have any previous numbers or have checked in before. We would certainly like to hear from you if you are within our RF zone here in the Central Valley. Otherwise, join us and listen to us at oldtuberadio.net on the audio stream and also on the live YouTube video stream, or maybe you're watching the replay years from now. Hello to you. We will be hopefully talking with and about some of your favorite tube radios. With that said, I will say my name is Dennis, your net controller for this evening, and we will continue or start with our roll call of the shortwave listeners for the 7th of March, 2020. This is the 8th week in our 8-week roster. So let's see if we've got 00 out there to get us started. Hello, 00, over.
Hello, 00, checking in.
All right, he's got the high-fidelity hi-fi pumped up and sounding good here in Midtown Fresno. I've got you, Dave. We'll get you on the second go-around on page 2, I think. We'll be starting off great. Thanks.
Thank you, Dennis. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
And you can follow along in the video. If I do this correctly, you will see that you are, as you get to checked in or not, on the top of the screen. SWL number 1, one of the guys who thought it might be a good idea to gather on this frequency about 35 years ago for those who had tube radios to kind of get away from the fracas of CB radio at the time and just chat like you did when the radios were new. And that's what we still do. And we'll get to number 1 checked in. Also, SWL number 2, Mr. OBP. I do not see him on the video stream, but he does occasionally listen in. And Kevin was also one of the stations that said this would be a good idea to do. And I guess it is, because we're still doing it. SWL 3. And I will give Rob a check-in. I saw him at the bowling alley on Thursday night, where he was in the midst of rolling a couple of 200 games. I don't know. He might have beat me. I was doing well, but he was probably doing better as usual. SWL 4, SWL 5. Look at 5 checked in. Ida is one of the net controllers here. She said hello earlier in the week. I saw her. She said, say hello to everybody on frequency, which I will do. SWL 6. Shortwave listener 7.
SWL number 7, checking in.
Checking in, checked in, sounding good doing it. We've got you with the big mark on the number 7 spot. Thanks, Ed.
And thank you.
Let me jump up to Mike, Mr. Cobra, SWL 13, who often checks in at oldtuberadio.net, which you can do. I will be monitoring and commenting on the various live streams here, from the video to the audio, when I remember to look at the right screen. SWL 14. SWL 15. Sometimes Fred, one of our net controllers, checks in on the Facebook site, oldtuberadio.net. It's a good way to do it. SWL 16. SWL 17. SWL 18. And we'll get Mikey, Mr. KDA, checked in from a Facebook check-in. SWL 19. SWL 20.
Number 20 here. Please check in number 2954 and 135. And the ones in between, I don't believe I'll have to check them in anymore. So we'll wait and see about that, Dennis.
All right. I've heard rumors, good rumors from the rumor mill. We will see what happens on that end. See if the antennas are up in the air and the coaxes are connected. I do have you checked in, and I will get the others at the appropriate time, and you are sounding loud tonight.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, we'll be back later.
All right, yeah, radio's sounding great. Then we go over to your host, what they say, the host with the most, Mr. JT from the old radio night, where tonight, it started, the radio looked every bit like a Browning Mark IV and then turned into something else. So I guess I'm not the only one that occasionally experiences technical difficulties with the radio site. So hopefully it had nothing to do with with the virus. Although he does say his ground route is COVID-19 free, so perhaps that's why the show went on without incident. Got you checked in from the Wasama Swamp. Thanks, JT. And a good show. Boy, there was some loud stations coming through on your radio tonight. And one of the guys was running some audio stuff, and he sounded great over the stream. Let's try SWL 22. That is Mark out of East Texas. SWL 23. Guess I should check everywhere. Who's on first? Or the video, or the audio. 23 Skidoo, indeed, checking in from Alice's Restaurant, where you can get anything you want, as long as you leave a good tip. And as he says, a few things you don't want. That's why they're closing the doors earlier. And, this is probably the safest, OTR is probably the safest place you can be on a Saturday evening. No hand sanitizer necessary. And, Mitch, you reminded me of your post on Facebook about what's your favorite radio, most popular radio. We used to take those surveys quite often during the roll call, and typically the 3 or 4 radios were, of course, Browning, Tram, and here it was Globe, because we had one of our net control stations that had, I want to say, 15 or 20 Globe radios. WRL, or World Radio Labs, and so that one always showed up. And then 4th place could have been anything from Lafayette to Sonars or whatever, but, and the general radio telephones, of course. So those were the top 4 here. I'm not sure what it would be these days. We should probably try and re-up that particular, we used to call it question of the evening. So thanks for listening in tonight out there in Alice's restaurant. Probably not getting a pickle, but he will drive away on his motorcycle. Looking for SWL 24. SWL 25.
25, checking in.
Sounding good. I got your email, or the emails about Wednesday, and it looks like that's all going well. I've been listening in, and I will try to listen in to make sure I'm hearing everybody, and sort of, get the station swept up, and then hopefully be available for emergency whatevers, or maybe get into the rotation here soon. But it sounds like everything is going good for March and April. But again, I will be checking things out so that I can possibly get into the mix if we get into that type of situation. Over.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. But yeah, we'll see when if Jerry and when Jerry checks it. But actually, we did a test last night,
He was sounding great. So thank you for your offer, and back to you. Back to ODR.
Okay, great. In fact, there are rumors that he might be coming in tonight, and we will be looking for that. Thanks, Jerry. Then we go over to page 2, and I do have the cross band up at 146550, and we'll see what happens tonight if I can actually hear through the headphoniums. SWL 27. Checking in SWL 29 on a proxy check-in for Mr. Loner. SWL 30. SWL 31. Let me look over the crowd here tonight, see who is where and wherever. Up in the balcony, Dallas, Georgia, Canby, Oregon. Listening in. The unknown SWL. If you see someone with a bag over their head, that's the unknown SWL. Woodland Park, Colorado, as usual, listening. Hello to our locals, Tulare, Auberry, California. Who else? Hawkins, Texas. That is something new. That is William, I think. Oops. The Texas Ranger, listening in Canton. Probably where that's from tonight. Hello down in Riverside, Somerville, South Carolina, of course. Another Quitman, Texas. Derby, New York, representing those kilowatt-and-a-half AM stations that hang around in that area, staying up late with us tonight, and also my stomping grounds of Hermosa Beach. So hello to everybody. We will get everyone checked in and acknowledged as we go through here. And look at that, running to the top of the balcony, shining the flashlight down, trying to get my attention. You certainly did. SWL 31. Robert and Teresa out there in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Probably stopped off in the green room tonight to pick up whatever it is, whatever the good things that they have, and then bringing it to the area to watch the net. Let's try SWL 32. SWL 33, myself, and there it is. We're somewhere. Bozo Control checking in here. Mr. Announcer and everybody else that has a good time here at Net Control. SWL 34. SWL 35. That would be Mr. Bill, and I think I saw him checking in from Cheyenne just moments ago, a few minutes ago. Mr. Bill of the Red Monkey fame that when he was in town, and a lot of us kind of wish he was still hanging around here, but we understand you got to go where you got to go, was responsible for putting a lot of the tube radios that you will hear tonight on the air and keeping them on the air, amongst other things, keeping people supplied with microphoniums and cables and cords and coax jumpers and antennas. Thanks, Mr. Bill. We couldn't have done it without you. Over to SWL 36. SWL 37.
37 here, Dennis. Also, hey, in case nobody knows, I just turned it on, but Madera has got 2 cases, and Fresno now has 2 cases.
Oh, I did not hear that. I don't listen to the news that much. I figured it wouldn't be long for that to happen. Hopefully they're not in any places that cause massive more problems than they're having already.
Apparently, both people, they was on a cruise on the same ship or whatnot, and anyway, one self-contained themselves after they found out that something, so they turned themselves in. They taking care of them now, and there's 2 cases here in Fresno. A nurse was letting us know that we knew.
Interesting. All right, well, the safest place to be on Saturday nights is right in the Radio Shack, talking to the Old Tube Radio Network. We've got you checked in, and you're sounding great.
Thank you, Dennis, but I just wanted to give everybody a words up on that out there.
All right, well, don't forget to wash your hands. Just, like you would do with anything, like you do with any flu thing that happens around. Thank you, Chris. Let's try SWL 38. SWL 39. SWL 40.
SWL 40, down here in Chinatown, celebrating the Year of the Rat.
Year of the Rat, R-A-T-T-F-I-N-K, Ratfink. I can't remember. I looked at my year of whatever I'm supposed to be, and it is not. I'm not the Year of the Rat, but it is the Year of the Rat. Was it a 12-year cycle of the 12 things that you could possibly be a year of? So hopefully, hopefully you are not getting too many of those around. I've got you checked in. Then we are 41, Road Dog 507, one of our New York stations. You know, I should see who is tuning in on the video. Round Dog coming up to you. Ray coming up to you. DD21 looking good. He's done his 14-day. There is Captain Robert out or near Las Vegas. And want to say hello to April, who may be listening in or could be listening in from wherever. Glad to see that you are recuperating, hopefully recuperating from the pneumonia since Monday. That is something you do not want to play around with. So whatever the doctor, whatever she or he says to do, make sure you do it for the pneumonia item. Also, Mr. Juliet Whiskey in Zero Land, where it was 60 in Iowa. We're probably sending some cold weather. It dropped about almost 20 degrees today, so we're sending that your way, because we had very spring-like weather. Spaceman is sending space waves to all of us from southeast Pennsylvania. Hello, Julius, and thanks for tuning into the Old Tube Radio Network. Hopefully you get on your classic radios, such that they are, and have a good time. Also, Smarty Jones in New York is saying hello, radio, another New York station, and don't see, who was I looking for? Don't see Road Dog yet, so that's okay. Let's try SWL 42. Oh, there he is, right there. He's jumping up and down, waving a hand. Road Dog, you just popped up on my screen, checking in. 507. Skipping across the digital airwaves here into the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks. Let's try SWL 43.
Good evening, Dennis. 43 were in here and was wondering if you got us last week.
Yeah, if you can hear me this week, you sound as good this week as you did last week. No real problem running over the noise. I know last week I was not making it over your noise level that well, but hopefully I am doing better over.
Are you on a beam or something? Because I used to get you at 9 pounds, and I'm only getting you around 3 now.
Well, let's see. What did I do? I haven't changed anything. I have to look at my watt meter. I may be running a little less power than I used to before, but I would think it wouldn't be that much to create that much of a difference, but you never know. My big deal is going to be getting my antenna up a little higher. Forget about the power. I just need to be up a little bit higher on the antenna, and that should hopefully come in a little bit sooner, and then you won't have to put your ear to the speaker anymore.
SWRs look good and everything, but you never know. I'll have to start checking jumpers and stuff.
All right, well, you're sounding good. I would say whatever you've got set up is doing okay on the transmit side. This is some of the best I've heard you, and it's full through the noise level, and you can always give yourself a radio check if you watch the video back or listen to the audio archives. You will be pleased with the way you sound.
Okay, I might do that, Dennis. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
All right. Doing good. Want to remind people that you are listening, watching, tuned to the Old Tube Radio Network. We are here on Channel 11 in Central California. It is March 7th, 2020, about 21 minutes after 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Last time I'll be able to say that for about 6 months. And we are here to talk about and listen for the classic tube glow-in-the-dark radios from 11 meters. Right now, checking in with our digital and audio shortwave listeners, like this guy here, SWL 44, Mr. 360. he is listening in, checking in from the video side, and also on the audio side tonight, saying the stream sounds good and all is well. Let's go up to North Fork, SWL 45.
We make it through the noise just fine to us. 45.
All right, your radio sounds good. I am looking forward to talking with you on it and about it when we start glowing in the dark. Thanks, Paul.
You bet. Thank you.
SWL 46.
Break OTR.
And the break OTR, go ahead, over.
Sorry to interrupt the show, Dennis. This is Tony 145. Get an early check-in. I'm feeling kind of under the weather, and I don't think I can wait around. I need to go lay down, and so I appreciate an early check-in, and sorry for interrupting the show.
Hey, not a problem. I will go to 145 right now. We will get the X in the square. Your radio is sounding good. Likewise yourself, but we want to keep it that way, so head over to the spot that is comfortable, and we'll look for you next time on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for checking in.
Hey, Dennis, thank you. And Nick Control on the Early Risers show the other day said Wednesday morning the International Space Station is going to be doing a pretty little flyover in our area. I don't know. I can't remember what time they said.
Okay, I don't have the tracker. We used to have a couple of stations, X4000 and Cliff, and a couple of times it did a flyover during the net, and we all kind of stopped and went out and got on the roof and watched it go over when the, the azimuth, the elevation is close to 90 degrees, 75, 60 degrees. It keeps it out of the trees and looks pretty good, and it certainly helps, like you said, if it's very early in the morning and it's dark and the sun hasn't come up, or it's about 8:30 or 9 o'clock and the sun is going down. So we do like to track it here, so we'll keep an ear out and an eye out for that. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, I just thought I'd pass it on to you. Like I said, sorry for interrupting the show. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Catch you next time.
All right, thanks for checking in. Here to the Old Tube Radio Network. Real Radio's coming up soon. We stopped off at, let me call SWL 40, thank you, Tony, SWL 46. And we'll give this one a try. SWL 47.
Yep, that's the key term there. Good evening from the radio pool. If you can hear me, SWL 47.
Yeah, I hear you well. I was pulling my headphoniums off to listen to the crossband speaker, and then I was hearing a voice that says, no, that's a lot closer, and it's back on the radio. So you are actually sounding a little bit better on AM than on FM, over.
Oh, that's, well, that's good to hear. Perhaps that's something to do with either my location next to the pool or the, ginormous antenna that I'm using right now. Of course, the 13217 is freezing cold.
The good old 217. In fact, somewhere on the name here, I have the TRC 217 put in with your call and everything else. So that's how we first heard you, and that's how it got stuck on the sheet here.
Oh, yes. I was thinking the same thing, and actually, that's funny that we were talking about something flying around tonight. Is that correct?
The space station, it sounds like it's on Wednesday morning where there's going to be one of the high elevation passovers. There may be some others. I don't have the tracking thing going, and you probably remember we've done a couple of times where we've stopped the net or just kind of all ran outside to watch it go over and then come back down and talk about it. So apparently there's a good Wednesday early morning pass here through the Central Valley.
Okay, got that, yeah. I got to tell you, I spent quite a bit of time outside tonight, and it's really cool looking up in the sky, and I get really excited. I thought it was going to be flying overhead tonight, but there it is. Okay, on that, thanks for checking in this evening. Of course, that was from the radio. I just back it up. I got to see if somebody can have the name for this location.
All right, thanks for the portable check-in. We'll possibly look for you later in the network tonight. Old Tube Radio Network, Real Radio's coming up in the directed net roll call, page 2, if you're playing the home game, looking for SWL 48. Shortwave listener 49. probably get Brian and the crew over there in just a little bit. SWL 50.
Alive and kicking.
Oh, man, he's got the big station up tonight, sounding good on the old tube radio network. Thanks, Mark. And that's a good sound. Mark is not that close. Sounds like he's down the street if you're just listening in on the audio, but he is actually miles and miles away. That's what happens when you have a good setup and the right altitude. Let's try the guy that got us started off, SWL 51.
51 checking in.
And still sounding good. How does he do it? I can't keep my audio rack that consistent in 15 minutes. Thanks for checking in.
No problem, Dennis. Have a good evening.
That's what happens when you're running 30-year-old analog gear. You never know. You never know what can happen. Let's try SWL 52. He might check in. He might make it in. He's been hanging around lately. SWL 53.
Oh, Dennis, 53, checking in.
Sounding good, Bob, Mr. Bel Air, hanging out with us here on a Saturday evening, the old Tube Radio Network. A safe place to be, I might add. Thanks for checking in. Turn over to page 3. Let me say, let's see, who else is in? Before we turn the page, the boys from Squamish, British Columbia, waving a hand. The Magic Trio, perhaps, Albert and Gang. Also, the Bob and Steve Show chiming in out in the green room. The Jingle Singers named the fish. I went and looked at they're actually doing it's a very nice aquarium that they put up in the green room. It kind of caught my eye. They named the fish Sneezy, Sleepy, Happy, Grumpy, Dopey, Bashful, Doozy, and Snow White. And some are getting fat. And more on that later. Yeah, I didn't check to see if they were guppies or not, but little bit of education watching the fish there in the green room. But that's why I've been keeping Charlie Alpha Tango out of the green room just in case he decides he wants to go fishing, and we have to take a few names off the board. Where did we leave off here? Oh, we're on page 4. SWL 54, the cosmic check-in for Mr. Board Jammer. Keeping all our radios on the air and sounding good. SWL 55 up in Shaver Lake.
55, checking in, Dennis, and I'm just out of Shaver. I'm not in Shaver Lake. Thank you.
That's right. I'm always supposed to say up near. We got to get people up near around Shaver Lake. That hidden little turn, just to the left or to the right or underneath or above. You'll have to find it, but you certainly know where it is, and it's sounding good.
By the rock near the tree.
By the rock near the tree, or the other one is. The story goes, if you've ever been through Auberry, and obviously you have, the town of Auberry up in the hills are about 30 miles away, has these wooden carved bears. Some are 2 or 3 feet high, some are about 6 feet high, but for the town of Auberry, but they're kind of spread out all through. If you drive through the main road there, you'll see these carved bears. And so the trick is, if you're a female and you have someone that wants to meet you, you just tell them, you know what, I'm busy now, but if you come back next Friday, meet me by the wooden bear. And then when they get to Ivory, they realize there's about 10 of them. And especially if you don't want to see this person, at least you didn't lie to them. You might be by one of the Auberry bears. I don't know what I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's try SWL 56.
Good evening, Dennis and the net. 56, just for kicks.
And sounding good. I haven't been watching or looking to see if there's been any more videos from the steampunk canyons over there, but I will take a look, see if I've missed anything lately. Over we go to the digital side. And say hello to our stations from the worldwide sidebanders, specifically this guy, 1942 out of Central Kentucky, 57 Brown Dog Audio, waving a hand over on the video side of things. Let me get people checked in from his freshly sterilized radio bench, whether it's Lysol or little hand sanitizers. But like I said, the safest place to be probably is in the radio room. Also, let's say hello to those who may be listening in from Antique CB Radio pre-1977. Listeners in from the CB Radio Lounge, the CB Radio Connection, High Fidelity CB Radio, looking at all my high fidelity garbage up over there. The 11-meter CB junkies, hello to you. Hello to Vintage CB Radio, the fans of Demco CB Radio and related equipment, hoping that we can get a Demco radio online tonight. Hello to Vintage Tube CB Radio. Of course, the worldwide sidebanders and Rich Anderson and all the gang out there at CB Radio News, chiming in, listening in to the old Tube Radio Network tonight, where the tubes will be glowing momentarily. Let's try SWL 58.
Well, I go ahead and proxy in 58. You might as well get 82 myself in. In the mobile in Fresno, Kaiser Hospital.
Up at the north, I'm familiar with that, but there are the North Tower. Hopefully it was a friendly visit. Your mobile sounds great. Then you're not that close to me, and you're putting in a good 10/9 signals. I will get you checked in. I talked to Jeremy Wednesday night on 10 meters. He scoped me out on his highfalutin SDR radio because I was testing, and he found me. We had a great chat. I told him I was listening to him talking to the JAs on 20 meters. He was smoking it a few days ago, and he's probably out there working. There's a big contest going on. So Jeremy is one of those worldwide guys. I will get Jeremy is checked in, and Ron, I will get you as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Dennis. Have a good night.
Then we got SWL 59, SWL 60.
Thank you, Dennis, and evening time to all the people out there. Doggone it, a bit on the news there. Looks like we got a confirmed case here in Fresno with a coronavirus. Doggone it, same off of the Princess Cruise boat. The two fellas in Madeira, and not one here. That virus is not looking good. Dennis, let's get old Jerry's base checked in, the DX2527.
The 291. I still hear that voice checking in on the old Tube Radio Network, and the radio is sounding good, Joe. Likewise, and that's what Chris mentioned, that Central Valley and Fresno have made the map. So, like I said, hopefully it's in a place that doesn't cause a lot of commotion and a lot of panic. So the safest place to be is in front of the radio tonight, the old Tube Radio Network. Got you checked in.
Thank you much. That's right. Right here, that's the safest place to be. Thank you much.
Next, we go over to SWL 61.
61, checking in, Dennis.
Like clockwork, you guys, the 60s, 60, 61, and 62, always right there when we need them. Thanks, Dean. We got you checked in. And SWL 62 out of downtown Clovis. SWL 63, Bubba and the group out of New York, all the New York stations. 63 checked in. SWL 64. SWL 65.
Good evening, Dennis. 65 checking in.
Big signal into Midtown here, Eric. I am getting you checked in. Thanks for listening to the old Tube Radio Network.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
SWL 66. SWL 67. I think that is Bill. I think out there, where is our Oregon station? Canby. I believe that is 67 listening in. I'm putting in the X in the square. Over. Always kind of nice to know that if you grew up with Old Tube Radio. You can go anywhere now, thanks to the Universal Media Netweb, and check in and wave a hand with the old gang here in the Central Valley. Let's try SWL 68. SWL 69, also Kenny, who checked in last week, gave us a high five on the video. If you are watching, Kenny, here's the waving a hand to 69 out there in, I think it said Tulsa. It has been a long time since I've been, probably right when we started OTRs, when I was out in Tulsa for a bowling tournament. Long time ago. The land of the huge radio towers. I made the whole group of us that were there for the bowling thing as we were driving to the bowling alleys actually detour and drive out into a field to look at this 1,500-foot tower. They say, yeah, we know he's crazy, but I just had to get a look at that. We don't have anything like that here. But out where you have no mountains to speak of, where you don't have 4,500-foot mountains, you got to have big towers. Let's go over to SWL 70. And then over to Dallas, Georgia. I know I can check this guy in. Let me refresh my page and look for Mr. Announcer. Somewhere. There he is, checking in. Hey, Stan. I would imagine, even though you don't mention it, that you might have been out listening. I turned on 20 meters earlier, and boy, it was just hopping with all sorts of contests. There was stations on 40 meters. There was an Italian guy. There was an Italian on I probably still got his call up on the QRZ. Well, he just had a super pileup going down on 40 meters in the afternoon here, it's really hard for us to hear Europe, and he was just beaconing in, but that's what happens when the contests come up. All those 1,500-watt PEP stations, you know what I mean. Fire up with their 5/5/5 antennas on 20 meters. All right, Stan, we got you. SWL 72. SWL 73.
I'll give him a proxy. I talked to him the other day.
Yeah, I now that I've got the crossband up, I actually hear him on 5/7. So I'll get John checked in, and he might be doing some contesting stuff as well. So MY is checked in, and also we will get SWL 74 checked in, Ms. Jilly. SWL 75. SWL 77. And SWL 78, I do believe, is waving a hand up there in Everett, near Everett, Washington, live and direct from Wildemar, 20 miles south of Corona. Oh, I'm sorry, Richard is in, well, actually I show Everett, Washington, but I think he's our Riverside. You're the Riverside guy out there in Corona, Riverside, Rubadoo. What's the other one? Romo Land? I remember somebody changed the sign where it said Romo Land, and they made it say Bozo Land, which probably isn't too hard to do. You know, they always dink with the Hollywood sign down there. So why not Romo Land? Got you checked in, Richard. And I don't know. I might be down that way sometime this month. Radios are coming up. I'm just having a good time during the roll call here. It's always good to say hello to our stations listening in. If you've got a radio, keep it warmed up. Get it warmed up, because we want to talk. We want to talk to you and talk about your radio. Let's try. I heard this guy on FM. Let's see if he's AM operated. The SWL 79. Well, I'll get him checked in, because he did check in on the crossband earlier. So Phillips checked in. SWL 80. Over to page 4. Let me say hello to who's jumped in on the video side. Mark is in, saying he loves the show. You don't love the jacket, but it's part of the wardrobe, but you love the show. Actually, this is, I know how I can check in, because it says SWL 33 on my shirt, thanks to the Ohio guys. Got to have a net control shirt here. Who else is it? Oh, of course, Warren Scott saying hello to all the crew here at the Old Tube Radio Network and beyond. Mitch, Delta Oscar Golf. And Charlie Alpha Tango. Charlie Alpha Tango is not feeling too well. He's over in the other room, which is probably a good thing. He likes the Trader Joe's holistic cat treats. I kid you not. That party mix works pretty good. I even Googled, I went to QRZ to see who had the call W0OF. And there is a W0OF, but it didn't have a picture of a Delta Oscar Golf. So yeah, this is probably a vanity call, no doubt. And KCS 4949, Jigsaw John. Johnny Defiant. Okay, we got to do it. Where is it? I'm going to mess up my audio. Hello to Johnny Defiant. For all of you listening in on the audio side, it makes sense of that. Arlen is in. Looks like I was just at a wedding. Yeah, it was my own. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here now during the Old Tube Radio Network. They said, she said, you get married in a suit like that, I'll see you later. And USY, hello. I'm taking an old buzzer transmission here. Having too much fun on the Old Tube Radio Network. Get Aaron checked in, SWL52 on page 2, who might even be putting me up on the big screen. I saw the video. That was pretty scary. It's pretty scary to know that. That's why I really don't like to do video. It's kind of scary to know that you'd be on somebody's big screen. All right, let me unkey and say hello to SWL81. SWL82. Oh, I got 82 checked in from the mobile unit. Drum roll, please. SWL84.
84. Good evening, Dennis. I almost forgot how to key up the microphone in there. Roger, Roger.
Well, I know how that can be. Good signal. I have to look at the S meter when you come in. I'm going to say you're at least S9 and maybe more than that. So you've got everything where you want it over.
Well, it's about time there. Kind of a hiatus for quite a while, but the tower's up about, antenna tower and stinger is right at 63. I still can go up one more section for the tower, but right now I want to make sure everything is okie-dokie fine, and I think everything is going to work out just fine. This antenna's courtesy of Mr. Harvey, and we did a little bit of horse trading and got me a real nice antenna, so hopefully it will last there. Roger, Roger.
I think so. It's a good full quieting signal. S9 solid on the S meter. So everything is good, and you are not that close here into Midtown. So good to hear you. We will get the rest of the crew checked in, and it sounds like we're going to hear you on Wednesday nights as well.
Yeah, I thought we'd jump in there and aggravate everybody on Wednesday night, so kind of looking forward to it there, Dennis. And I'll check in my girls there. And the Snowy Owl is in Seattle there, and they said it's almost nil as far as grocery shopping. It's hitting them pretty hard there. But anyway, back to you there, Dennis. Roger, Roger.
Yeah. The thing is to stay well and don't get the flu of any type. Like we said, the safest place to be tonight is right in front of your radio here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Again, sounding good. Look for you on Wednesday. Jerry is one of the net controllers on the Wednesday night net. Let me put a plug in for that for any of the SWLs. And hopefully we will get some 10-meter conditions Wednesday nights at Central Valley West Coast time, 8 p.m. PDT, or P standard time, daylight time, whatever it is going to be. Anyway, 8 o'clock at 28.445 is the audio portion. At 8 p.m. on 10 meters, there is a net. So try listening in if you can. Check in if you can. They have a visitor section. And you will hear some familiar voices if you listen to the Old Tube Radio Network. So 84 is in. Let's see if we hear Reedley, SWL 85. And then we will check in SWL 86, SWL 87, and SWL 88. That's the Mountain Maid Tandy Girl and the Snowy Owl, respectively. I'm going to get a proxy check in for SWL 89 Darren, then go to SWL 90. SWL 92. SWL 93. SWL 98. And there is Mr. Dave, 544, checking in. Sounding good.
Thank you, Dennis. Have a good evening.
Sounded really good. Actually, S unit stronger than I normally get you, I think. SWL 103. I'm going to get Jeff checked in from a Facebook check-in for Mr. GZE. Thank you, Jeff. SWL 109. Shortwave listener 110. Try and read Leetown again. I'll have to check the screen here to see if he tried to check in earlier. No, I didn't hear him before the net tonight. SWL 111, Robert. SWL 113. SWL 114.
114, checking in.
SWL 114. Got you, Wayne. Looks like 8 in a row on this one. Sounding good.
Thank you for the check-in.
Then up to SWL 128 from Fairfax, Virginia. Did I see 128 in earlier? I don't think so. I'm looking. He might be doing, he's a contester too. He might be out there working the contest thing. Mr. John Lee. How about SWL 131? Out of Northwest Fresno, SWL 133. Got a proxy check-in for the Green Arrow, SWL 135. Shortwave listener 137. From earlier, Tony up in Coarsegold checked in. If you're listening, Tony, I hope you're feeling a little bit better. Let's go to SWL 147 out there in the land of Kakalaki. I thought I see a Fayetteville, North Carolina on my list. And there he is. No fears. 147 is in the house. Temps down to freezing. Spring isn't quite here yet. I think we sent you some warm weather, and we're sending you some cold weather. The radios are quiet. Listen to 20 meters. Contest going on, 40 meters. I actually was hearing a lot of stuff, but I think it's all the kilowatt guys. And 887, Dr. Jazz in the Carolina Sand Hills is saying hello to everybody. We got you checked in, Neil. Thanks for swinging over and tuning into the Old Tube Radio Network. Let's get a little bit closer to home up in the hills of Coarsegold, SWL 195. SWL 226. And I wanted to say hello. I see San Francisco has appeared on the screen, so that can be none other than, let me look over there. Yes, indeed, X4000 beaconing in. We had a report that, and X4000 is very good at tracking the International Space Station. Somebody said Wednesday, coming up Wednesday, you pass over the Central Valley Wednesday morning, so it would have to be when the sun was just before the sun was coming up, some perfect altitude thing. There may be something possibly before that. And can I proxy 85? Mr. DDX saying I can do that in Reedley. So John in Reedley is proxied in. And that's Mitch. K1, kilowatt 1, Tango Yankee. So Kitty is a registered call. I was thinking, how could you do that? But we've got Wolf and Kitty, and 42 calls with Delta Oscar Golf as a suffix. Who knew? Gotta love those vanity calls. Well, look at our own SWL 20, Harvey. When he got his vanity call, he took W6 OTR. Now that is dedication. So It just goes to show you. All right, I'm going to stop talking. We're going to set up for the radio check-ins, and we will take as many as we can get here before we skip forward on the daylight savings time. OTR back in just a moment.
Why is it so quiet? Hello, radio.
You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
Find us on your TV, because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by
OTR.
Brought to you by
27.085 megahertz.
Brought to you by
The Old Tube Radio Network.
The Old Tube Radio Network, real radio's glowing in the dark. Hello, my name is Dennis, your net control for the evening, and we will be talking about and checking in the classic radios from 1958 to 1978 that you may have in your collection. If you are within the sound of our audio voice, we'd certainly like to hear from you. So give us a call when we say Old Tube Radio Network is listening. Hello to all our stations listening in at oldtuberadio.net. And also, let's see, our video stations. Oh, William says he's listening to the audio feed. This is a good question. Listening to the audio feed on the digital side, and I hear a lot of line noise, very scratchy, and every now and then it clears up and is solid, like right now, because I have the receiver muted as I transmit on the radio. So sometimes, like this, you actually hear the radio. So now you're hearing the radio, receiver, and my voice, and now I'm transmitting and muting the receiver, and indeed, so you are correct. That's what you were hearing was RF receiver noise. So when you hear me clear, I'm transmitting to the masses, not only beaconing over the Universal Media Network, but also on Channel 11 locally, and then when not, because I can still talk to the video and the audio without transmitting on the two-way, so that's what happens. So you can hear how noisy my radio is. And if you're watching the video, you might notice my S meter sits at about S7 or S8. I actually cranked the RF gain back a little bit so that I minimize the noise so that the digital SWLs don't go crazy listening to it all the time. So the more people that chime in and talk, the better it is for all the band noise. So thanks for that question, William, because that is my valid answer to your great question. Let me say, let's listen and try and get our first radio. OTR is standing by.
Break OTR.
And the break OTR, go ahead.
Well, unfortunately, this wouldn't be the first radio, just a late check-in. Hello, Dennis. Hello to all the SWLs. This 49er checking in, and...
Sweet Country Mama waving a hand. Hi, Dennis.
All right, Sweet Country Mama, SWL 49. Hello, Brian. Computer Man saying hello, sounding good, like 20 over on the radio. So we're going to go to the SWO board and go to 49 and get you all checked in. If you get back to the base station, we'll listen for you there, but you are official. Thanks for taking some time out and being safe on the road, and we got you checked in.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we're mobile. We're just getting out of Fashion Fair, so I think a little bit closer to your neighborhood. So thank you kindly, and we'll try to check a couple of these old tube radios in a little bit later. Take care.
37.
All right, sounds good. 49 is checked in. Let me make sure I get the paper version of that. Hey, Chris, step up into the air chair. You will be radio number 1 tonight. I take care of all the paperwork here. I want to say hello to Crazy Bob, who is, maybe you're done. Normally he's out DJing and doing the radio thing sort of like I do when I'm not doing this. Is reading the mail and copying. Good to have you. Good to have you on board. I guess it's pretty late out there. Maybe you're done with all the gigs. Steely Dan warming up in the green room. Soon there will be no static at all. You know, that is the place to be. If you check in, always go to the green room first before you jump into the air chair. We'll have a good time. My problem is I'm here, and when everything is over, I run over to the green room, and all I can do is watch the fish. Because that's just about all that's left. Christopher, SWL37, also known as Go Boy. At least that's the handle. Does anybody use handles anymore?
I don't think so.
I guess if somebody asks, you can do that. Back when I first started, I think I told this story, my handle was Canary. When I was in high school, I had a canary in a cage in my room that used to sing and come over the +2 microphonium. So that's how I got that one. They call me Canary at Bird Brain Control. But I also had some numbers. I think I had some sideband numbers, and we had a group on Channel 10, and I went by some numbers there. But hey, what we want now is a radio. Tell me about it.
I got one question to ask you first.
This is the one question frequency. Go ahead.
What color are the fish?
Well, they're named already. They're like Goldilocks and the Three Bears and Dopey and Grumpy, and it depends on if they have if they have a light over the top of the aquarium. If that's turned on, they're pretty colorful.
So none of them's green, right?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, well, Dennis, I want to check in this radio.
I am ready for your radio check-in. Over.
Well, I want to check in my general radio telephone, my Super MC11A. This is the 24-channel version of all this stuff here, and with the little man in the wheelchair up there, and we are running this here with the stock microphone. Over.
General radio telephone Super MC11A, probably their last one, not their last one that they made, but the last one that the FCC sort of type accepted and said everything's cool. Said, you guys are doing something to your audio. You're doing something to your RF output. We don't necessarily like it, but we'll put a stamp on this one. Then the MC12 came out, and I think that was it for them. There is, if you're looking at the video, or if you're at oldtuberadio.net, we've got a picture-up page. That is a likeness. It is not the exact radio that Chris is using, but it looks pretty much darn like it, and it is tuned to channel 11. And that is the microphonium that he is using that is getting such great audio, believe it or not. Believe it or don't, give us a transmission.
Absolutely, and there is no amplification whatsoever behind it or in front of it, just me.
Just you and you. So if you're getting jammed, if you're getting interference, it's your own fault. The Super MC11A, what do we know? It's 9 tubes, 6AL11, the modulator output ECLL 800. That's one of the biggies. The mic preamp, a 12AX7A for some decent audio. And it was even Sam's PhotoFax CB22, page 45. Also had 2 transistors. I think that had something to do with the 12-volt DC stuff. But the 9 tubes are rockin' OTR tonight. Over.
Oh, absolutely. And it hasn't been jammed, and there's no shorts in it either.
You say there's no shorts in it? Have you opened it up to see?
Schwartz, like the movie, Jammed, some people know it. You don't watch TV that much.
I haven't watched TV since they switched over to digital. After you work in TV for 30 years, you end up not watching it.
It was a comical movie anyway, but yeah, it had, I can't remember his name, but, you get old, you forget a lot of stuff. I still remember when I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember to forget. It's sort of like working at R.J. Reynolds, making cigarettes. That's the last thing you want to do is smoke. So I think when you work in television, the last thing you want to do is turn on the TV, because it's bad for your health. Should I go? No, I'm going to leave that picture right there. I was going to go up to a more close-up. What I'll do is I'll put the radio back on the S-meter, so if you watch the video, you can get yourself a radio check. You're getting a thumbs up from SWL23 saying that MC11A is the loudest radio he's ever heard. And you know what? I know he doesn't exaggerate. You are, let's see, when you come back, you are, 4 miles away, maybe? You think you're about 4 miles away from here?
Roughly, yes. Somewhere in that category.
All right, and your antenna is not super high in the air. You're not running an amplifier. You're not running an amplified microphone. My antenna is low, so what you hear is what you get. But I will agree that is for full fidelity audio. And the way I'm doing, some people ask, the way I'm doing the audio is I take a direct audio feed out of the AF output of the receiver, and that runs into the sound card. I think I go through a noise reduction system just a little bit to get rid of some noise. I might go through, I'm trying to remember what the heck I do. I might go through an equalizer that pulls off some below 80 hertz and say like 12 kilohertz just to get rid of that. But that is your full fidelity audio on the end of the sound card, and hopefully not, I'm trying not to overdrive things. I know when you hear the playbacks and MP3 and compression, may sound a little weird, but what you're hearing is basically what I'm hearing here through the headphoniums, and it is definitely loud. Radio 1 at 857, the general radio telephone. Chris, everybody likes that radio.
Well, I do thank you guys for that. And you just mentioned about R.J. Reynolds, the old TV commercials. I know there's one you got to remember. We're both been young at one time. Call for Philip Morris.
There is oops, I'll get the radio to key down here. There is a lot of YouTube things with the call for Philip Morris, and they actually have, because that was done live on radio shows, they actually have a picture of the guy dressed up, or a little guy, whoever it was, that would do that thing. But see, that's a nice thing about OTR. Even though we try and get in the mood with the old radios and the classic seersucker suits and everything else, we do not advertise. Although I think like 30 years ago we did take advertisements. I would have to find the cassette tapes of the approved OTR advertisements for WT grants and the bus and some other things. We do. You remember because you were out there, and the Mel Blanc. I don't know what happened to those, but we'll find those. Take another transmission. There are other stations that would like to come through, but I thank you for getting us started off tonight.
Okay, and also we got to remember, we had the head of what you call it? Oh gosh, what would you call it? Federal Communications Commissioner. Anyway, I'm out listening.
Yes, 00 used to be the FCC commissioner, we used to call them, and get updates. Do you recall on any work that there's another question coming from that radio, on any work that you have done, and it's probably from Harvey, if he has done a recap, or for as long as you've had that radio, if there's been any major issues where you had to send it away to make it behave?
There was one time at Harvey did, I don't remember exactly what it was, some little cap or something other in there wasn't working right, or a resistor or something, I'm not sure what it was, but he did make it well.
Okay, and other than that, it fires up once a week quite nicely, and that's one reason we do this, the OTR once a week. Think of like having an old car that's in the garage, the fins and chrome, and it really needs to be started up and driven around the block. And so this is a forum for our local collectors that have these radios that may not use them as daily drivers, if you will. They might be talking on sideband on the fancy RCIs or whatever, but a place to take the radio out of the garage and drive it around the block. So we really appreciate when they take the extra time and stop whatever they're doing on their Saturday evening adventures and jump into the radio room to do that. The MC11 and those Super Series had a plug, like a Jones plug or some type of octal plug in the back that you could put together in a certain way, and it would kick the audio or kick the RF into, I want to say, business band output. I can't remember if we tried it on that. I know Harvey has, and it brings the signal up, but it brings the audio down. Obviously, you have a little less headroom. So what you're hearing is the stock 5-watt DC input, probably 3 to 5 watt RF output. And believe me, that is what helps the audio. If you kick up the RF, which you can do on that, it does cut the audio down. It's still loud, but not like it is, not like you're hearing it.
All right, well, it's showing here, I'm looking. It's keying up at about, let me see, just close to 5, and it's got a little bit of a swing to it.
Yeah, I'll say it does. It sounds good. The General Radio Telephone Super MC11. They started with the MC8, MC9. They didn't make a 10, 11, and an 11A, and the 12. We do have a couple of 12s out there, and then there's the MC100 prototype, which I think happened after all of that. That had, I can't remember if it had sideband in it or not, but. Okay, before I break something, thanks for bringing it by. Hey, there's Bathgate. The UK is in. Greeley, Colorado. Good to see Greeley in there. Listening in. And all that. So thanks, Chris.
No problem, Dennis. You know, now we get Paul out there. He's got some of these generals. Harvey's got some, and who is it? What's his name over there? What has the antenna down? Green Arrow? I can't remember. Anyway, he has someone.
Yes, there has been nights where I think we've got at least 3 of those checking in, and maybe some 12s and the 11s. Well, let's see. Give us about 3 or 4 years, when our cycle 25 is up, and we will be battling the mini grass at the beginning of the net. And as the sun goes down, we might be able to hear Australia. And I recall back in the day when you were in Lawrence, Kansas, that we would do some late night skip talking to you guys out there, right?
Almost definitely, even during the daytime. Of course, I had the quad up at that time. I would aim it out here to California. I talked to, Buffalo Bill, Jim, Kevin. There's quite a few people out here I talk to all the time. You know, just keep in contact with them, even though JBO down there, I talked to him, a few other people. But yeah, I made it out here quite a bit and whatnot. And that was strictly on AM. And then I had sideband, but I didn't use it too much until I finally learned, hey, sideband, you can get out even further. So, you know, I got sideband too, so, you know, I was doing both.
That's right. You crossed over to the evil side, the evil slop bucket side, but it's a lot of fun too. So hopefully in a couple of years, a lot of the stations that are listening in from afar might be able to give us a shout. Channel 11, and people say, why are you on Channel 11? Mainly because it was called Channel, and a lot of the single channel tube radios usually came equipped. If it came with one crystal, it would be Channel 11. So that's where we kind of hung out when we started this. And here we stay. So I know that's not the, when conditions are in, that may not be the best channel for getting a clear frequency. Might be a little bit better than Channel 6, and maybe not as good as Channel 28 for AM, but this is where we're at, and it seems to work. Thanks, Chris, for getting us started off.
And you remember, both of us on there, you know, while you was here, I talked to Washington, so I know I made it to Washington barefoot one night.
Yeah, we have not got the conditions like we did in November, December with the 10-meter E-skip, but that should be coming back, no doubt, when we warm up a little bit.
I'll be glad when I get here.
The Old Tube Radio Network. We're looking for Radio 2. Let's head over to the Jingle Singers in the other studio. They're having a good time in the green room. Looks like the fish are swimming, and the Jingle Singers talking about their favorite thing to do.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you, wherever you are. For music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
the station for you is
OTR.
The Old Tube Radio Network, Radio 2 should be next. And John Lee saying that, let's see, did I get you checked in? No. Why did I not check in 128? I'm going to do that right now. Maybe, as usual, I wasn't listening, but mentioning, and I wanted to comment. Let me put the official check-in up on the board here. There you go. Said a bunch of us youngins started a radio club back in the day, about 8 of us. They were called the Channel Jammers. I was never in a club like that, but I remember when I came from Southern California to Fresno to go to college, I just couldn't believe there was hardly anybody on the air. I had put up a little station in the dormers, but there was a group that used to drive around, and they were called the Cutters. Thinking, what was the Cutters? When was like coax cutters? What is it? And that turned out they were ditching school. So they would get out on the radios and talk to each other as they, I guess, ditched high school, but they were called the Cutters. So I guess that's my story here for the Central Valley. Looking for Radio 2.
25.
Hello, 25. You are back in the Radio Shack. Over.
Boy, there was a pile up there, Dennis. Are you coming back to me?
Yeah, 25. Go ahead. Over.
Well, it might take a few more. There was a pile up right behind me, but you want me to go, or you want to get the others?
Yeah, jump up into the air chair, and then you can go into the green room after I talk to you for Radio 2, and then I'll build the list here. Who are some other stations that would like to check into the Old Tube Radio Network? Over.
45.
All right, 45. Hello, Paul. If you can hear me, you will be Radio 3 after Jerry, so make yourself comfortable in the green room, and we will be right with you. Over.
I hear you just fine, Dennis. Okay. I'll get one of Jerry's drinks up there. Thanks.
All right, good deal. All right, thanks, Jerry. You may now take the cover off the microphonium and give us a transmission on radio number 2, SWL 25.
All righty. And by the way, Paul, make sure you have the red wine. It's very good, along with the chocolate. Anyway, Dennis, SWL 25 checking in on this sonar. FS 3023, the one we have been checking in for quite some time. And only because coax hooked up to it. But I did bring out another item of interest out of the archive, out of the closet, better known as the closet, and warming it up. So I'm going to see if it'll work, get on the air tonight after bid. So the FS-23, made by Sonar, 23 channel, on the air, no, there's no on the air like on this radio, but I do have the meter, and it's working, and talking on a non-powered single red box Sonar mic. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
All right, let me make sure I have the proper item of interest. It is the Sonar FS-3023.
That is correct.
All right, I am showing the right item of interest. Let me see if I can't get a better picture of it here. Ooh, that's too close, but it sounds good. There we go. That's a little bit better. Looks like the original issue. Maybe we'll do a frequency check on that. I don't know if I've done one in a while, because the FS is supposedly the frequency synthesized crystals, so that you don't have to buy all 23, 46 and cram them in there. We'll see how that works out, but the Sonar is sounding. And I think there may be some of those listening. There's a Facebook group that works with, I think, Sonar and related radio. So hopefully some of them are out there tuning in this evening as you take a transmission on the FS-3023. Over.
Okay, Dennis. Well, the only thing, I have a 23, and that's what I'm going to try to check in here after a bit. in the front on the 3023, and it's on the back on the FS23. But they're both mobile radios. You could fit them in. I don't think you could fit them in today's cars, but unless you had a Jeep or something. But back in the days when you had the Buick Electric 223s and Oldsmobile, whatever, when you had the big old doghouse and everything, you had plenty of room, I could see how they'd work really well back then. But in today's cars, it'd be a challenge. I'll put it that way. I'm not saying it's impossible. Anyway, thanks for checking in, and Dennis, back to you.
Hey, I'm glad you brought it by. In today's cars, it might actually melt something. There's just a lot of plastic. You know, these radios do run a little bit hot. I don't know how that one runs. I know what is my Simpson Guardian 23. Boy, you could cook an egg on the top of that thing. And I think somebody said some of the Robins run really hot. But that one might run cool. Might have the proper convection cooling. Let's see, get you at 27084.25. So just under about 700 cycles on the low side, which I think the FCC back in the day said that's allowable. So your crystal for being 40 years old plus, 45 years old, maybe even more than that. Still working out quite nicely. We'll go back to you for a transmission. And thanks for bringing us by a radio too. We'll let you jump over to the green room. But first, give us another key down on the sonar.
Yeah, very good. And by the way, Everett, number 8 used to refer to these sonars, especially the FS23 and the FS3023, as the miniations, because they look like the FD1s, they look like same color, same everything, and about almost as big, but maybe not quite. But they try real hard, and they've been working, and they're still working, and by golly, you know, it's a pleasure to check them in. Anyway, and Paul, hello, Paul, and 38 was just blowing my socks off over here. So, Chris, you're sounding good, too. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Yeah, good sounding radios tonight. And our listeners, where they be on 27085 or across the Universal Media Netweb, are commenting, saying the radios sound good. Wish we could hear some of the great sounding rigs that they have out that way. Wanted to make a comment. Someone had asked about is there a local big SDR online radio. I think the closest one here would be the one in Santa Cruz or San Jose, wherever it is. It's part of that big block. There's one out in Utah, and that is definitely way too far away. That's about 150 miles or so. So you would not be able to hear the ground wave of this station. Maybe some backscatter. We get some stations that are running some power. You might hear it on backscatter when the band is open. And hello to, who else is tuning in? It's got some new stations. Rich and all the gang over at CB Radio News listening in, and also staying up late, 4:33 out in South Jersey. I guess a lot of people are staying up late tonight to hit that 2 a.m. so they can officially set their clocks forward to 3 o'clock. So they're brave because you're already losing an hour. Coming up right now, Paul, SWL 45. Just a reminder, you don't have to have ever checked in a radio before or know anything about the old tube radio or be on any list with numbers to come by and check in a radio. If you're, have found Uncle Fred's radio in the garage and you're trying to tune it up and get a radio check, we will be happy to talk with you here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Hello, Paul, over.
Yeah, hi, Sherry. Sorry about that. I'm thinking about meter. It's not seen the way it should be going. So there's something wrong with it. Anyway, I'd like to check in my Brownie Golden Eagle Mark III AM SSB.
And I hear you, Paul. I had a couple of stations checking in on the FM crossband, 73 and 27, and I wanted to to acknowledge them while you were also getting in there. So let me find a picture. I may not have one for that. And you say you are running the actually rare AM transmitter on the Mark III. Is that correct?
Come back on that, please.
Did you say you were using the AM only transmitter for the Mark III? Over.
There the ping goes again. That's what I was talking about. It wants to come and go, and I don't know why. I had it working perfectly earlier, but oh well, one of those things. On the airline, it shows up on the radio anyway, so that helps a little bit. I hope that was part of your question.
Yeah, it's part of the question. I've got a picture up. I'm just curious if you're running the Mark III SSB, which has the larger receiver, or the large receiver with the large transmitter, or if you're running the Mark III AM, which has the large receiver with the small transmitter. Over.
I like the big one, the SSB, the whole shebang. It's 31 inches long, 20 tubes inside this big machine. Back to you.
Yeah, there's how many tubes just in the receiver? All right, I've got the wrong picture. I want to make sure I get a proper representation. We have a really good shot of the Mark III SSB, the classic radio that replaced the Mark II, and all the accessories that were needed to run sideband. They managed to pack them all into the large transmitter. And this was a very popular radio for Browning Laboratories, and sounding good in your collection. I was wondering if it might have been the Mark IV when it keyed up, but it's definitely the Mark III and sounding good. Over.
Yeah. Okay. This is interesting too. With Chris's General, this one, my Browning. This is the Browning 776 microphone, made by Turner. There's no adjustments on this thing. You can't turn up anything on the thing. The radio does it. The whole works. You can go inside the radio and tweak it, but that's about it. Back to you.
Well, that's a good note. Browning was really good at same way with General Radio Telephone, with adjusting the radios so that they worked with the supplied microphonium, and you didn't have to go with compression or amplification. And if you did, you either had to turn the amplification on the microphone way down, or, like you say, go into the radio itself and then readjust things. So it's sort of like reinventing the wheel. The stock audio, stock microphone sounding very good with that radio. Our radio number 3 tonight. Over.
Yeah, it's fantastic radios. See, I was thinking about the early 60s and all that, having to worry about always adjusting the thing. Always was losing you on the thing. This thing kicks in on the VFO. It kicks in on about, I'd say less than 5 minutes. It's solid as a rock then. It did a lot. Yeah, that's just a few things I like about it. Back to you, Dennis.
Sounding good. Hopefully I'm making it on the receiver okay. That's one of the radios that when we used to take surveys here on the Old Tube Radio Network, and Mitch, SWL23, has been doing that on one of the Facebook sites. The Brownings, of course, the Trams, at least here on the West Coast, the General Radio Telephones always come up as 1 and 2 or 1, 2, and 3. So you're in good company. I'm glad you have space for some Brownings. I know you've got a lot of General Radio Telephones and a lot of other radios, so it's good you are over in the Browning section tonight. It's sounding good. The Mark III SSB. Give us another transmission, and thanks for bringing it by tonight. Over.
I like them because if the noise levels out there, they help. They're just a quality radio. Thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
And thanks for bringing it by here on the Old Tube Radio Network. A lot of activity on the crossband radio tonight. 73 is out there. 27. Make sure I get everybody checked in. And, of course, the Jingle Singers always enjoying their favorite place to be on the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you, wherever you are. The friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
We're listening for radio number 4. And who is that, over?
25, over.
25. I'm getting you marked in as Jerry is stepping up into the air chair at officially 9:27 Pacific Daylight OTR time. Give us a transmission, over.
We're trying, boy, here's a radio, boy, we haven't fired up in, boy, I want to say 15 years or so, but I've let it kind of warm up, and anyway, this is from Sonar. The FS-23, not the 30, not to be confused with the 3023. Anyway, by golly, Dennis, I hope it's working. It's been a long time since I had this radio on the air, and I figured I'd pull it off the shelf and fire it up and see if it still works. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Sounds good. Sounds very similar to the FS-3023. I've pulled up an advertisement. I see the price for those things was about $300 when they came out. Let me go to a closer, see what we can read. Frequency synthesized. There's your FS, Citizen Band Radio. $299.95. Continuous one control channel switching. Okay, rather than see, they're trying to put the little dig on those other receivers, like Tram that had two knobs. It says one knob, right? One control channel switching. You don't have to dink around with stuff. Low noise, dual purpose transistor power supply. Interesting. Low noise, new Vista receive RF stage. That's a good thing. That's why you're paying $300. I can't read this. It's not very clear. Vox control. Wait a minute. Provisions of necessary Vox control and two-tone squelch. Oh, accessory. That has a Vox accessory? I didn't know that. High stability and frequency, accuracy, high adjacent channel and image rejection, crystal control receiver, fine tuning, rugged heavy-duty construction throughout, high-level Class B push-pull modulation. That is one of the things that Sonar was known for their Class B push-pull audio. That's why it's always so loud. So, I didn't know it had a Vox accessory, though. Over.
Yeah, okay, Dennis. I'm still kind of messing with switching pots around and everything. Boy, you're in and out, but, I don't blame the radio. I blame the operator. I think this radio just needs a good cleaning, some good contact spray on the contacts, and anyway, I hope the transmit's working. Transmit side's working okay. It looks like it by the meter. It's swinging forward. So just on the receive side, I just got to mess with some knobbins here, and boy, you're in and out. But it just tells me I just need to pay a little attention to it and clean it up a little bit. And thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
Hey. Good deal. Thanks for bringing it by. The Sonar FS-23, I won't hold it too long, but your transmit is doing well. Good on the signal, and no problem tonight hearing you on that here on the Gold Tube Radio Network. We'll be looking for Radio 5. William talking about, remember when he was in Fresno, Cali, the gathering place for the CB breakers were held at the fairgrounds. See, I never went to a break when I was here. All my breaks were done down in the Redondo Beach, Torrance area, like he was talking about. That would be in the early 70s. Door prizes. Remember the door prizes? And I remember when they actually were saying, well, that's a lottery. They were trying to stop the breaks from having door prizes. This was in the early 70s because it was a lottery, because you paid money and you had a ticket and you could win something, and they were taking the money. So there was a golden eagle given away as a prize one year, one ticket number away from the winner. I drove from Manhattan Beach to Bakersfield when they had the Bakersfield break. I want to say that was 1972 or 73, and it was a golden eagle. And it was a Mark III, I believe, and there might have been a Tram, but I don't think my ticket was definitely not one number away. But I used to go to the breaks that were down in Redondo and Torrance, and got my first little name badge. They had one of those, a crew. In fact, I talked to the guy. He's on Facebook. His handle was Snoopy, and his parents ran the machine, one of those engravers, the plastic engravers, and I got my first name badge that said Canary on it. And Snoopy is still around. He's on Facebook, but he kind of blew him away. He said, "Yeah, your parents made me the the name tag. I'm looking for that. 45, 50 years ago." Back at the Redondo Beach break. The Old Tube Radio Network, real radio's glowing in the dark. Let me get back to the main page here. My name is Dennis, and we are trying to check in as many radios as possible. So let me stop talking. We are looking for radio number 5.
Well, how about a Browning R27F23 for radio number 9 from the Radio Lounge.
Hey, Brownings are good. I actually have some show and tell for Browning tonight, so let me see if I can grab a appropriate picture for the R27S23. I have a couple. I have an advertisement which I might put up first. The birds of the feather. So let's do that. And thanks for heading back into the radio room. I can actually hear you a little bit better than I can with your telescopic antenna on the Browning. Go ahead.
Well, good. I can't remember how long the antenna is on the CRC 217. This one, the IMAX 2000, I've got is a wee bit longer than that. With the addition of it being up quite a few more feet up in the air. But again, for your listening pleasure, Browning R27F23, I always have a hard time saying that this is the banana-style microphone because bananas are curved, and this one is not. I was the one to describe it as a Tootsie Roll microphone, unamplified mic at that, but Tootsie Roll because it's kind of on the back end of it. It's kind of got little slices like one of the longer Tootsie Rolls. It's just one of these random comments. Unless you've eaten a Tootsie Roll, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. But fun microphone to use. I got to say, I think it's the most comfortable mic I've got here in the Radio Lounge to use on a radio.
Well, it's nice to have the Radio Lounge well equipped. Browning Laboratories from 1269 Union Avenue, Laconia, New Hampshire. That base station coming out in 1965, along with their Raven mobile transceiver. So the birds of the feather. The Eagle base station, your Browning Eagle base station, will be the heart of your CB Communications Center. I hope you are in the SWL 47 Communications Center. The finest investment you can make. It's got everything: RF gain control, selectivity switch, cascading new Vistor front end, 12 tuned IF coils in the receiver. Transmitter has a built-in SWL meter, crystal microphone, clipper filter stage, 23-channel operation, and all the other features you want most in a base station. See it at your franchise Browning Service Center today. I sound like an advertisement, huh?
Well, let me tell you something. If I worked for a particular company, I'd definitely hire you to describe whatever it was I was selling. You obviously and definitely got the knack for that. There are definitely lots of knobs to play with on this particular thing. On the receiver itself, 6, and what do we have on the transmitter? I guess 3 on the transmitter. I must have some noise going on, or I just can't remember. When I was outside, kind of in the backyard, I was trying to turn off lights. It's been such a long time since I transmitted from out in the backyard. I wasn't sure if I had installed some LED lights that just weren't, working out with with radios. But now that I'm back in here, there's something going on. Everyone seems kind of weak today, or this evening. I don't know. Hopefully I don't have water in the cloac somewhere. Lord knows.
Maybe it's the COVID-18. It's not quite as bad as the 19. Your safest place to be is in the Radio Shack tonight. But you sound good. You're about where you need to be, S8, S9, I think. There is, for those looking at the picture, the actual R27, S23. I'll just go ahead and say it. I might tick off some Browning people. That, compared to other radios in 1965, I don't think the Browning was that pretty. I mean, it's a nice radio, and it's big, and it's got the knobs, and it's got everything you want, but just the layout on it was very, compared to some of the other ones I've seen, especially some of the Pierce Simpsons. It's just, that seemed to have some design team to make them look like a Zenith RCA radio that you put on your tabletop. But, it was what was inside that counts. And, of course, they had the Raven, Mitch, saying that he knew a guy had a Raven back in the day. His handle was, his handle was Nevermore. Yeah, and his name was Edgar. And I knew that guy from the Poe side of town. All right. And, hello to KUH, Brian, listening in, waiting to set his clock ahead. It wasn't flashy. I agree. But then again, you're the only one looking at the radio, right? It's everybody listening is hearing some great audio. So if the radio looks not so flashy, it might not be that bad of a thing. Browning looked like a great company to work for. So wanted to make sure your radios were something you could put together. All right, I'm digressing here, Mike, sorry, but we have some people commenting on the radio, and I wanted to make some comments. Let's see, how long have you had, you know what I was going to do? I'll ask you a question, and I've got some show and tell for the Browning. How long have you had that Browning? Was that your first, I can't remember if that was your first big radio after the walkie-talkie, or if it was the Robin, over?
No, that's actually just a delightful question. Now, this was my second tube radio. The first one was the Robin. Just listening to you guys on the 217, it caused me to spend quite a bit of time looking around on eBay. As I think I've said before, the Magic Eye tube was just something that kind of caught my eye right off the bat. So I knew that the first radio that I was going to get just had to have one on there. This was my second one. I can't remember if there was an occasion or if it was just kind of a spur of the moment, or I don't know. But no, this was the second radio in the collection. I do have to agree with you. I don't think it necessarily is the most attractive looking radio. With the exception, I really do like the on the air lamp on this guy. It's really big, right-hand side of the transmitter. It's been a long time since I've paid attention to Brownings on eBay. I think maybe you're going to have to correct me on this. I think the other on-the-air lamps were really, really, really small. I want to say that they were on the receiver. That doesn't make sense, though. I don't know if you want to make a comment on that.
Well, $359. Series 1 and Series 2, a 2-year run from 64 to 65 before they came out with the Golden Eagle. This was the first one called the Eagle. Series 2 base station consists of the R27 Series 2 receiver and S23 Series 2 transmitter. Some of the differences from the Series 1, larger meters, neon modulation indicator, and the lighted on-the-air indicator. So if you've got a modulation neon, kind of an orangey thing, I guess, or you have the modulation indicator, the on-the-air light, then you should have the latter Series 2. Let's see if I can keep my foot on the foot switch and bend over here. I do not want to break this. Let me go to the control room camera. So for those watching the video, or you have to watch the video for this, here is the Golden Eagle. We talked about this last week, the Golden Eagle Browning mug. There we go. Do not break this. The Golden Eagle coffee mug. I'm waving it around there. And I think Paul, I got this from Paul, it's WL45, but in the Golden Eagle collection. And then if I switch over to that other camera, like there is the I put the cup over in a safe place so I don't break it. And there's the Brownie Eagle member thing that goes well with our radio check-in here tonight. So I just wanted to put those in since we're talking about Browning, and then head back over to you for a transmission on Radio 5. And if I needed to answer a question, I probably did.
Okay, no, and I'm going to switch over just real quick and super briefly to, I guess, Radio 6. My Robin 123, B is in Bravo. Yeah, there's something going on. There's a lot of noise. I'm having a hard time even hearing you on this guy. So something's going on. But you're talking about if the Browning was the first radio in my collection, which it wasn't. It was the second one. I'm going to skip ahead real quick. Thanks to the instant on-the-air feature, that the last radio in my collection, which is the 123B, is in Bravo.
There it is. That's the 123B. I've got the 123 showing up. Let me go to the 123B. You know, this radio actually has almost an S unit more signal than the Browning. Let me switch over. There we go. This should not have the magic eye. Has some nice audio. And from Radio 5 to Radio 6 at 940, it appears to be working. Over.
Okay, good. That's kind of amazing that this one's putting out a little more signal. I am kind of screaming into it. I think everyone's kind of left the room, and I shut the door, so I can kind of I can raise my voice a little bit, but it is tiring. But anyways, fun radio to use, even though the rather weak LED modulation lamp is just barely winking at me right now. Yeah, I guess it's still fun to use.
Yeah, I think you're good on the audio. I was saying you have a little bit more signal coming in, so a little bit more full quieting with your 11 tubes. What's in the audio? That 12AX7 in the audio. And I'm looking for the output tube. I can't modulator preamp 6BQ5, I think, or something like it. 1972 to 1976. This was the Panasonic clone that so many other manufacturers use. I think Robin got the deluxe version of the chassis. Some of them didn't have all the lights and everything else. Now again, see, here's something designed. We've got the green stripes and the knobs that match, and the layout not bad at all. And they made this for 72 for 4 years. And of course, they had to stop because it went to 40 channels and they had to do something. Otherwise, they probably just went with them. If you need a schematic or an operator's manual, I know you don't need the operator's manual. You're doing just fine. Schematic, maybe. Looks like we have something up at oldtuberadio.com for that. So Radio 5, the Browning. Radio 6, the current item, the Robin T123. And let me add the B, and we'll go back to you.
Okay, well, there it is. Thank you so much for letting me check it in. What a joy it is to use these old glow-in-the-dark tube radios. And, well, there it is. Thanks. I'm trying to think of a stupid coronavirus wisecrack to make, but that was an epic failure. So on that epic failure, I'll send it back to you.
All right, well, this is the epic failure frequency. I will toast you with, what is this, some iced tea. So it looks pretty awful. And I poured some tangerine juice. I think that's what's clogging up on the bottom there. It sounds pretty gross, but that's what we're doing here tonight at Net Control, the Old Tube Radio Network at 45 after the hour. The Jingle Singers doing what they do best.
You're listening in the latest style.
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
And the Old Tube Radio Network looking for Radio 7.
45.
And it looks like we're transmitting. There is Paul. Can you hear me? Over.
That's correct. After I turned off one of my other radios.
I heard somebody was talking back to you there, but you sound loud and clear on my receiver. We'll go back to you, see if you were hearing me. Over.
Yeah, Okay, and this is one of your favorites. I'm putting it on there because you had it on your website all week long. Regency Imperial.
Yeah, the Regency. Oh, man. And that I put it up there to kind of remind me that I have a Regency Imperial. It was my first old tube radio that I got in 1972. It is here somewhere. It needs some work to get back on channel 11. And because it has been setting so long, I'm sure it needs capacitors and all sorts of other things. Great. I know I had the picture all week, and now I can't find the picture. Okay, here we go. And I love the audio. The Imperial up there with the sonars, I think, may have had the push-pull audio. It also had the double sideband suppressed carrier, usually noted for one of the radios like the general radio telephones that has great audio out of the box with stock microphoniums. Over to you for a transmission.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to show this thing just for a minute, if I can stand by just for a second. Okay.
Yeah, you're tuning the final. Let me show a picture. What he's doing. That's not a bad picture. It's got all the crown and the Imperial. And Paul was taking the knob that's on the right. It says FINAL, and you twist that knob. You go to, I think you go to the C. There's an SVC on the meter, which is your S unit, your voltage, and your current. And I believe you dip the plate current. I believe that's what you do with the final control. You can crank that thing down to 100 watts. But if you've got a power meter, you look for the most power, but you are dipping the final there, and that's a pretty cool thing. Over.
Well, I tell you what, I love this old radio just like you love yours. It's really, they're a really neat radio, way ahead of their time. Excellent everything about them. This microphone I'm talking about is, of course, non-amplified, and it's made by Turner, which I'm proud of that because I love Turner mics on these old radios. Yeah, it's not, and I like the tuning from the front, just like we're talking about. It's got so many goodies on it. It's unbelievable. That are factory. Thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
Thanks for bringing it by. I put up the S meter. You're at S8, but your audio sounds loud. I was thinking you'd have a higher S meter, and I noticed the meter isn't fluctuating much at all. And there's a way to tune that radio. You can actually back the carrier off to about 1.5 watts, which is, I think, sort of the standard thing, and then it will, the suppressed carrier will modulate up. You can also put more carrier on there, and then you have less movement on the meter. That may be where yours is. I was surprised that it wasn't fluctuating more on the meter, but it sounds loud and looks good. But there's many ways to do that. But man, it just I was expecting it to have a little bit higher on the watt meter or on the S meter. But it sounds good. Don't think I'm dissing the Imperial. A Regency Imperial from 67, double sideband AM, similar to what the Tram Titan 2A did. The double sideband was a bit of a problem back when Channel 16 was where all the sidebanders went, and they started using VFOs because people would rock down on the RC channel between 15 and 16, and when you went double sideband, instead of being 3 kilohertz wide, you were 6 kilohertz wide. So whenever I tried to use sideband, I would inevitably get somebody saying that I was interfering because they had slid up a little way or slid down. So I didn't do much sideband on it, but I did a lot of AM, and I am hoping to get it back on the air. I'm not sure if I could use it for an old tube radio. It's got a really good receive. It's kind of a tight receiver on the receive VFO. I think they narrowed the bandwidth down just a little bit more for the sideband, but it probably would be a good radio to use if I could get it to, without putting any AC hum in the received audio. Thanks for bringing it by, Paul. That is radio number 7 tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, 25. I thought I saw you hanging out in the green room, so bring the coiled cord, the radio, plug it in, and take a transmission. I think I know what it is. Over.
Okay,
Okay, Dennis. Yeah, you know this radio very well. I think you've conducted the net on this particular radio. Two-piece radio, big radio. Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Boy, the red on, the air light is on, and Golden Eagle is right above it. And by golly, you know that this radio is it's like. It's just like a rock in a river. It just always works. And it's a beautiful radio. And talking on a non-powered banana mic. And anyway, back to you, Dennis, for any comments on my receive.
Well, hopefully I'm making your receive, the tunable receiver on the Mark III receiver somewhere. I should be near channel 11. What was cool about that is they put the frequency as well. They opened up the little channel window. You look at some of their earlier models, and they have a little dinky window for the receive. But this one, not only put the channel, but they put the 27085, 27095. The RC channels were in there. And we discussed this a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people would just buy the receiver. I think they sold more receivers than they did transmitters. You didn't have to buy it as a set. You could buy one or the other, and you would pair that receiver with your transmitter of choice and work the switching into however, you could switch your transmitter, your transceiver over, and things would be good. Also, the same years as the Robin T123B, 1972 to about 1976, but about way more than twice the price if you bought both the transmitter and the receiver. And like we were talking, Brownings built their radios to work out of the box without any amplification or modification necessary. And this is a good indication, a good proof of that. Back to you.
Yeah, okay, Dennis. Anyway, thanks for checking it in. It's one of my prized possessions here, and it kind of like Bert, or like Chris's MC11A, that thing. I can't believe how loud that radio is. But anyway, good to hear everybody on checking in, and Chris and Paul up there on the hill, and everybody else. So, and thank you, Dennis, for running this net, because without you doing this, we wouldn't have the opportunity to check in these old tube radios. So thank you very much. Anyway, back to you.
Well, maybe it just wouldn't be as flashy as I said. But obviously, the radios can be checked in anytime, on the air anytime. I hope that our listeners do something like that, whether it's a vintage night or just a get on the air night. There's been some people questioning if the activity on your 11-meter radio is getting more or getting less than that used to be. Well, I looked at some of our SWL sheets from 20 years ago, and there were a lot of people on the air. That's why the numbers are sort of spotty, because we started removing people so we could get to the radios quicker. But man, in 20, even 30 years ago, there were a lot of people listening on radios, and not necessarily old tube radios, but there's certainly a lot more people out there on the air. Oh, also, you know what? Jerry, you probably don't have the video going. I was working on let me switch over here. Hold on. Okay. I want to... All right. I'm operating a foot switch. I have the FM 1000 close by. It's normally way over on the shelf, and it's actually, it's falling apart here. But let me go to that. We talk about the Hallicrafters. I know this is sort of off topic. Let me get the proper camera going here. Let's try that one. All right, here is the Hallicrafters. The little escutcheon badge is coming off. I think I have to glue that up. See, that's springing up there. But this is the Hallicrafters FM 1000 radio that I got in 1970. But this is my first DX. There it is. My first DX radio with the great. I love that tuning dial across the top. If you're DXing AM, which I did, having that super huge dial, we just you can crank and you have space to get the stations in there. This had AM and FM, but that's how I DX'd a lot of before I was a ham. as I was just getting into CB. I love this radio. It had the tone control. It ran off a cord, or you could run the batteries in the back and take it portable. It also had, another reason I liked it, it had an external antenna. So you could, go out in the yard and, tell your dad you were pulling weeds, and then string your long wire through the trees when he wasn't looking, and then run it back through the window and plug this in and DX stuff all over the United States. But this is the good old FM 1000. I don't think I have any batteries, and I hope I don't. No, okay. They'd be in bad shape. But that is, we talked about the helicopters. That's the FM 1000. Unfortunately, well, maybe not unfortunately, but this was helicopters when they subsidiary of Northrop, so this is made in Japan, I believe it's an export, but it still has the little red H on it, big speaker, great radio. I think it was $29, and I got the employee discount, so it was, I don't know, $25. And back in the days of $1.95 minimum wage, that took a little while to save up the cash for that, but I wanted to show that because we talk about that all the time. In the meantime, the jingle singers once again, and we'll stand by for some more radios here on the Old Tube Radio Network.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
Brown Dog Audio, thanks for the comment. Helicopters. My first things were the CB11A walkie-talkies from Helicopters. I got that, and then I had my SX25, which is up on the shelf that I bought for about $25 at a garage sale, and carried the thing down the hill to my house. But that was little known. They had the tabletop models like the SR140 or the 120, but this was a portable. And I wanted something portable that ran off batteries and you could plug in and to do some DXing. Plus, it was cheap. It was about the cheapest thing they had. If you weren't buying amateur radio gear, and for a high school guy at 15 years old, that was my DX radio. After being disappointed in buying the typical little plastic transistorized radios from Sears or White Front or whatever they had back in the day. That was head and shoulders above the rest with that giant, tuning dial across the front, and the fact that you could put an external antenna on it. And maybe someday, Rich, talking about the grand tour of the radio room, I want to do some remodeling, or maybe move into a radio room where you could do a grand tour. And we could do that. Maybe have some guest hosts. Maybe do lots of stuff. In the meantime, the radios are the focus of the Old Tube Radio Network, and I'm standing by listening for a few more before we sign out here tonight. And William, I agree. Talking about buying the Golden Eagle receiver and then using a Johnson Viking 2. I used to talk to a guy. Maybe you were in the area at the time, I think. I don't know. His name was, what was his handle? I want to say he was in Torrance or Redondo Beach, Gardena. Rusty Nail. That's it. I don't know how I remember that. And he ran because his radio would ping, but it wasn't a Browning. He had the Viking, either a Viking or a Viking 2. With a control carrier setup, which is really interesting. He was running control carrier audio, and then I believe he had the Browning receiver on the thing. And I have not seen the modification online, but there were a lot of stations down there that ran the Viking, the Johnson Viking, and the Messenger 2 in a control carrier, and they would flip a switch. So I'm assuming it has to be fairly easy to do to run it that way. But boy, did it sound good. He always used to say that when somebody was hanging a carrier that it wasn't him, because he couldn't do that, because when you key the microphone, nothing happens until you talk. OTR standing by.
20.
Hey. All right. Foot switch is running away. Hello, 20. You made it back. Over.
Oh, yeah. A little tired here. Anyway, proxy me in for next week and the week after. I might be out of town next week. The week after I'm working. But if I can't shake this cold by next week, I'm not going on the trip because it's to visit the grandkids and I'm not going to go down there with a cold. It's not the corona, not the coronavirus. I checked. I've got the Modelo Especial.
That comes in a different colored bottle, I think.
Roger. At first, I had all these kind of crossed lines all over my body, and they thought it was the Dos Equis virus, but that went away, so it's the Modelo Especial.
See, I hang out in low-class neighborhoods, and what do I have? I have the Brown Derby. What's the Safeway house brand? Brown Derby, or a beer I remember, and I don't know if it was a West Coast thing, but back in the days when these radios were brand, it was called Brew 102. Or if SWL 56 is listening, he would say he has the Hams virus, the flu refreshing. Your Browning sounds good. Over.
Hey, Roger. On the general plug in the back, what that did was it shorted a resistor in the modulation line going to the output modulator and pumped it up. And that gave you the extra output. Now, most of the radios were tuned for the lower wattage. So if you tuned it correctly for the lower, you got about 5 or so watts and a good forward swing. But then when you went to with the plug-in, you probably flat-topped a little bit. So then if you retuned the radio for the higher output, you could drop the carrier a slight bit, and you'd have some decent forward swing on the with the plug-in, and then you wouldn't flat top. But then when you pulled the plug out, you were doing not quite as well on the lower, with the lower wattage and modulation. Now, when the radios were new, maybe that wasn't a problem, but you know, nowadays it always seems to be. So basically, run it on the low power, you do just fine.
Yeah, it sounds good. Just the signal's there, the audio's there, so sometimes less is more. And, you know, we have to talk to those people. They're working you too much. We need you. We need you here on OTR, and not be away doing stuff. Well, anyway, it sounds like part of that is a fun trip. So as you know, you can find us at oldtuberadio.net on the SWL side, and join all the stations that do listen in to us from far off lands. Brown Dog Audio is listening and talking about the SX110. That's the 110. I have an HT37 down there. It should be up on the rack. I think I actually put a crystal in to make it work on 11, but it's I'm waiting for some 10-meter AM stuff. But I think the SX111 is the match for the HT37. But I think the 110 would look pretty good. R68, T68 is our Radio 9. I don't know if it was you, Harvey, or somebody else. We did the thing where we plugged in the plug and put the radio up, and what you said was exactly it. The audio just wasn't as good, and it was sort of like, well, unless you absolutely need to do that for some reason, it's better to leave it unplugged.
Oh, yeah. Well, you could play the halfies game if with the radio out of the case, you tune it for lower, then you try the upper, see if you flat top, then you tune the upper so you don't flat top, then you check the lower and see how you're doing, and you go back and forth and you try and get a happy medium with it, and then you could probably run both. But if you're like me and you eat the mic, you end up flat topping on the high end no matter what, so unless you tune it specifically for the top. I've got a couple generals and they're all tuned for the lower, even though I could tune some for the upper, but doing it for the lower is the best because the radios do just fine.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Just listen in and do what sounds best. When I get the Regency Imperial going, that's what I want to do, is sound, get it to 4 watts, talk on it, and put it down to a watt or watt and a half, and listen to the audio and see which one works better. If there's something in between on that double sideband suppressed carrier, there was a reason they did that. You don't need to key down at max power and see where the audio sweet spot is. SWL44 chiming in. He has the coronavirus plus Lyme disease. That's what you use by the poolside. And William Seawitch did the same thing in the beginning, talking about the control carrier. And you know who the other station, I couldn't think of his name, and the guy was close to me, and he also had, he would run, it was a tugboat. Remember Tugboat out of Redondo Beach, North Redondo? Man, that guy would just, I think he ran like double Palomar amplifiers. It would sure get quiet, back in the day when the FCC would come around down there in the South Bay. You could tell. It's like the FCC was in town. Nobody's on the air except the guys on Channel 12 and 13 using their call letters. And even they were a little bit scared. Okay, Harvey, let me go back to you. I know you wanted to get back in, but I'm grabbing you extra time tonight so that to make up for the next couple of weeks.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. On the Browning club member pin thing that you were showing, I do have 5 extra. So if somebody wants it, they can call me or get a hold of me. And they're very inexpensive, so, I've got 5 more. I'm keeping 1, so I have 6, I think. And I'll get rid of all the others. So there we go. And then on the Browning station stick-on label, I have 1 original that's been laminated. So I'm going to try and get it copied, either into a card or duplicated into a stick-on thing. I don't know. But I've got 1 that's in perfect shape and it's laminated, so it's going to last for a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to try and get those duplicated too and see what we can do. Anyway, yeah, check me in for the next couple weeks, I guess. And then, on that general thing with the resistor, Tram did the same thing on their, I'm trying to think which radio it is. I'm not sure if it's the Titan or not, or Titan or Titan 2, but it could be the 27 series, TR27 series. Anyway, in a schematic, the SAM schematic, they show a dotted line showing that you run a wire from this point to this point and you boost it up. So they're showing you that in the SAMs. They're not saying what it's for, but if you know, then you go, oh, from here to there. And you just run a wire and it just does the transmit and doesn't do anything to receive. And you boost the signal and modulation, and you do not flat top.
I definitely don't want to do flat topping. I remember that. Do not cut the green wire. My first big radio was the Radio Shack Navajo TRC 23, their first Navajo. And I did not cut the green wire so that when I went to that space between channel 22 and 23, the 23A would happen. Once I found out how to do that. So I don't know if they told you that or not. Interesting stuff. Radio number 9, the Browning R68 T68 is sounding good. 12 minutes after the 10 o'clock hour, so if you have a radio to check in, we'll take it before we sign out. The Jingle Singers are ready to go with what they need to do. The green room is still having active stuff going on, so maybe I'll make it over there before they clear out. Thanks for joining us tonight, Harvey. And let's see. I was going to give you a call for some reason, so maybe I'll give you a call, not tonight, but sometime later, and chat about stuff. You're sounding good.
Okay. Just call me anytime. Well, actually, call me Harvey, but you can call me anytime also. Okay, catch you in a couple of weeks or whenever you call.
Okay. And always have your number written down somewhere, and then it's like, oh, it's not written down somewhere. So I might find it. I thought it was on the page here, but it's not. Let's see. What? Oh, Jingle Singers, stuff like that. Any other breaking stations for the old Tube Radio Network?
25.
25. Okay. You are hanging out late, even though you know you have to spring forward. You're going to lose an hour. This is why we like our old Tube radio operators and SWLs, is they go the extra mile. They know they're going to be dragging on Sunday morning, but they're going to stay out late with us. Go ahead, over.
I just wanted to check in the Holocrafters, CB3A, and I was hoping to hear the FM 1000, but I never heard it. I don't know what happened. But anyway, that's why I decided to warm up the Holocrafters CB8, and it's back to you.
All right, I'll find the CB3A. Well, I would have to plug in. I'm trying to think if I have a plug that's actually not a plug that's not being used to plug in the FM 1000. It's actually over here on the desk, and then it would probably be its maiden video thing, and not work. I don't know. So let's show a radio that actually does work here. That's the CB3A, from about 7 years earlier than the FM 1000. It has the red letter H Helicrafters logo. This one probably out of Chicago, Illinois, wherever they did stuff. Getting us into double-digit radios, that's a good thing. And it's sounding good. Take another transmission on the Helicrafters, over.
And it's the Holocrafters CB3A on the non-powered D104 microphone. And back in the day, you actually used to crank up the FM 1000 and play a little jazz. I'm not sure if it was Frank Sinatra or whatever, classic stuff. But anyway, one of these days, maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to do that again. Because it just added a little class. Not that you need class. You have all kinds of class. Anyway, that's it, Dennis. Back to you. Back to you. 25.
All right, this is the definitely little class frequency. I'm trying not to break things, but I managed to do that. Let me go back to the control room camera. All right, there we go. And I have the FM 1000. Radio 10, by the way, is the Helicopter CB3A. And I found a plug. I had to unplug something over on the workbench. The cord is dangling, so that's probably going to break something. And I'm going to try this. It's probably not going to work because it hasn't been, but there's the... Okay, you can hear it. Hear it crackling. That's right. I'm trying to the video, but we have to get the... Boy, it's... Let's work the FM switch a little bit here. Oh, you know what? I'm coming through. I'm actually interfering with it. Are we on AM or FM? Okay, let's go to FM. Here, let's go to FM. Here, let's go down to our pickup. You know why? Because my antenna's not hooked up.
And
Okay, hold your finger on the antenna.
I think that's his name. They're on the track, so we're going to get that right now. Brandon Track from Big Yank.
All right, that's our FM station, 88.1.
Hopefully y'all enjoying the show. Have any...
Well, look at that. I'm actually... Boy, that control is dirty. There you go. All right.
Well, that's what it's like going with wireless companies. But TracFone Wireless...
All right, and go to the AM side.
FTE network starting at $20 a month, no contract. Plus,
Wonder where that's from.
carryover data with active service. That's cool, but how'd you get my cockpit? This is your wake-up call, people. The new
I think that's 680. That's probably KNBR out of the coast.
To the savers, the skimpers, the I brought my luck.
Good audio. It's got a tone control.
The DIYers, the why would I fly when I can just drive-ers. We see you working hard.
And the FM 1000.
Financial dreams. That's why Credit Karma Savings works just as hard.
Can we get KNX? All right, I know I'm taking a buzzer chance. Let me see if I can get KNX out of Los Angeles.
May vary for a limited time. Hear that sound?
But that's it.
That could change the way we think
With
about
tons
heart
of
health.
commercials.
Heartline is an app-based
Back when KNX used to be good. That's what I used to get in the Crystal Radio down in
where
Man
you can
Beach.
share your heart information.
That's not bad. I don't even have an antenna.
Completing study activities, building knowledge that could
All right, but
advance
that's the
our
FM 1000. See what you did?
by beat.
Yeah. Actually, Dennis, I'm proud of you, man. I'm laughing the whole time, man. And I'm glad to hear the 1000, the FM 1000 holocrafters back on the air. So back to you, Dennis. Thanks for checking my holocrafters.
Battery, Atworthy. Replacing an air filter, then adding on wiper blades and...
All right, thanks for bringing it by.
Chase approved. So
Trying-
get what you need.
Trying to figure out if my dial is even good anymore in this thing.
Helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
That doesn't sound like KNX. That's just too many
Participating Napa
commercials.
Auto Parts stores. While
See if they go back to news here.
33120. NerdWallet presents Money Questions.
Can you believe that? That's the problem with AM radio these days. It's just full of... I mean, it's just tons of ads. Nobody listens to AM anymore. I'm talking to myself on the FM radio. All right, let me put this away. Before I break something, the jingle singers are pointing at the clock. And when they do that, they also do this.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
And X4000 saying he has a bunch of crackling radios as well. Something about that. Get out the Deox. OTR standing by. Counting and amounting. Hello, radio?
I was just commenting on your tie.
Oh, yeah, I've got, this is the, the Rip Taylor thing, the seersucker suit. I'm the sucker that bought it at Sears. So this is probably a Sears or J.C. Penney jacket from the very late 50s or early 60s. And the tie, I don't know. I don't think this is a vintage tie, but it's about the best one I have that goes with this rate. And then I've got the classic. This is the OTR special shirt for net control that actually has my name on it in case I forget.
Well, I tell you what, Dennis, nice show. Thank you for what you do, and anyway, thanks for checking all of our old radios. Otherwise, it'd just be boat anchors. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
All right, boat anchors aren't a bad thing. Don't forget to turn your clocks ahead. We're counting and amounting, and we'll get this thing taken care of here in just a second. All right, I am back. I keep forgetting this is, Warren calls this the Motor Mouth Mall jacket. Every time I see a picture of John, he's always a little bit more contemporarily dressed than this. But when you've got, did you see his beam, the 96-foot boom thing he's doing? So maybe when you have a station like that, you have to wear a jacket like this. This is the jacket for getting down. If you want to get down, you gotta wear this jacket. Let's see. We're going to do some counting and amounting. I wanted to say, William. God, you know what? I'm thinking of all those 70 operators that I could hear in the South Bay. What's the other one that was? And it was channelized. See, back when everybody was on, there was people on Channel 5, Channel 6, Channel 7, Channel 1, Channel 3. Was the one channel that everybody had a Browning? It was Ricky Tick and something else. It was like was it Bumblebee? It's like I had my little realistic Navajo, and it's like I can't get on this channel. Everybody keying up has a Browning Eagle. So that's when you think, well, if I had my walkie-talkie, I can make it sound like it's pinging, but they figure it out. And then who was it? Channel 4, the guys that ran the break. It was Contact. He had the great story about how he got his name. He looked down and he didn't know what his handle was. So he looked down at the radio and the name of the radio was Contact, so that was his handle. So I remember all that stuff. You know, impressionable age when you're on the CB radio. And then they said,
ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
This will be the current and final totals, and I'll get out of here. We'll clear the frequency. We had 54 SWLs checking in tonight. This is the 8th week on the 8th week roster, so we will be grabbing a new 00 next time. Thanks to Dave, SWL 51, for checking in all 8. He might be able to do it again if I pull his number out of the hat. 54 SWLs, 11 on page 1, 15 on page 2, 14 on page 3, and 14 on page 4. For a total of, 54? I already said that. And 10 radios tonight, with the most heard manufacturer being, okay, if we do this right, I can switch cameras to the proper thing. There it is, the Brownings, with 4 radios tonight. Starting with a General Radio Telephone Super MC11A, and that came from Chris. Radio number 2 was the Sonar FS3023 from SWL 25. Jerry did good tonight. He was working the radio room for us tonight. Paul on the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, sounding good on Radio 3. 25, Jerry on the Sonar FS23, showing off his little frequency synthesized things. The Browning R27S23 Eagle. Good to hear Mike jumping in the radio room on his Browning. Don't hear that one too much. And plus his Robin T123B. Radios 5 and 6. Radio 7, Paul on the Regency Imperial. Thanks, Paul. I love the Regency. I've got I should have it up here from 84 and 86 and 87, 88. I have the 30-year plaque for OTR, which is it's not in camera view, but it's got the Regency Imperial there too. So I'll have to show that. I'll bring that around. I'm proud of that. I want people to see that. The Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB from Jerry was Radio 8, Radio 9. Harvey on the R68 T68. Let's see if I can do this right. The Browning Lavatories Golden Beagle. Are we saying he finally gets it right after 30 years? The R68 T68 and Radio 10. The Helicopters CB3A. After a performance, not bad at all, from the aging FM 1000, where it's going to need some deoxit and some super glue and all sorts of things. Let me make any comments if necessary. Yeah, you know, X4000 is saying, I know I still do fit into my 1969 clothes if I had them. If I were to have them still, they would probably fit, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Thanks to all those listening at oldtuberadio.com, oldtuberadio.net, and searchlawrence.com, Frodex for keeping the Nixies running. And I noticed that the Nixie tubes didn't do their resetting thing because I think we finally got them on West Coast time rather than syncing with UTC. So the clock was on, and the clock should be on. Good night, everybody. The Old Tube Radio Network says thanks for your participation that has kept us going for this 35-plus years. It is fun to do. Don't forget, if you are thinking about or studying for your amateur radio license, continue to do so, because the bands and the conditions are going to get better, and I guarantee it, you will enjoy yourself on the other frequencies when they start opening up and doing cool things. Good night, everybody.
Hey, do you do late check-ins?
This is your late check-in frequency, moving the mouse over to the SWL check-in mode and positioning it on row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, on row 8. Over.
Very good. 70 late check-in. Appreciate it. Man, I got a bunch of static on this frequency, but anyhow, thanks for catching me before you shut her down.
You know, there has been people complaining, especially up in your area, that there's staticky things going on tonight. So maybe there is some force. Have you looked out the window to see if there's a UFO?
I'm not looking until the sun comes up.
Either that or the International Space Station. All right, we have you checked in over, and now that puts us to 55 SWLs.
All right, thanks, Dennis. Have a great evening.
And I'll be able to get out of the suit. It's actually not a very uncomfortable suit. It might look uncomfortable, but it's not. All right, and good night. Good night. You know what? Before I make a mess, let's quickly see if this is going to work. I will get on the right antenna. Well, that's weird. It actually is better through the tuner. Go to... See, there's contesters. There's still contesters out there. But my 40-meter antenna is so awful. Mainly because I don't have one. I'm using the Starduster. Hey, there's some AMers on...
We got audio.
There you go.
Get it as soon as possible. And I'm always appreciative when somebody helps me out like you, you know.
AMers on 3870. There you go. 3979 and a half, 3797 and a half. You can always tell the contesters. That's when you're first in amateur radio. I always wanted to be. I wanted to call so you could say Radio Zanzibar, America. Just to say, I didn't want to even talk to anybody. I just want to get on my call. This is Kilowatt 6 Radio Zanzibar, America. It just sounds so cool. X-Ray Whiskey Zulu. 9 over on the S9 on the Starduster. What do you think? 3 kilowatts? All right, that's enough. We're having too much fun. Good night, everybody. We will see you next week on the Gold Tube Radio Network. You got to hit the right button, don't you?